Hey guys, this is Peter Beckwith, and we're back, NorCal Disc Golf. Thank you guys for watching. We're back for the exciting conclusion of AMs versus Pros. In that last video, we blew up over 3,000 views, and we're just about at 200 subscribers. So thank you guys. Really appreciate all the feedback, the support. Just really appreciate everybody who's watching these videos. I'm glad that you're enjoying them, and the quality is up. Here we are, James Proctor, 1023 rated, latitude 64, Upper Park, and Dude sponsored. Here's John Child, 998, and he's an Innova guy. Those two guys are on the card, and here's Casey Mclaughlin, currently accepting offers. So if you're a disc golf company, definitely check them out. 918 rated. Here's Travis James at 947. And like Casey, currently accepting offers. So both up and coming guys. Here's Proctor with a birdie on hole 9, if you remember, leading Casey by 2 shots heading into hole number 10. Hole number 10 is a 216-foot downhill par 3. It's not a hard hole, but you can't take it for granted. At this level, these guys are all pros. This should be a get. However, it's really not if you do something like that. Proctor landed just right at the base of the basket, but because it's downhill and there's nothing really holding the disc, it will skip, and you saw it right there. And here's Casey Mclaughlin, who's going to be shooting second. And there's his disc off to the side of the tree. So that tree is approximately 11 feet to the basket. So he's probably got a 13, 14-foot putt. Not too bad. There's Travis James, almost rolling all the way down past hole 15. He's going to have a tough putt. And John Child is throwing last. Let's see if we see his disc. And it's going to go flying past the basket. And Travis James will have a birdie luck, and he runs it. And and that's the danger. So he's going to have a tester coming up. Well, Child is going back up the hill to try to save, and he should be right there for a par. There's Proctor, who just almost hit the pin. Oh, and he chained out. That's a tough one. Here's Casey trying to pick up a stroke on Proctor. And you better believe it, folks. Casey means business, and he's going to pick one up on Proctor, making it a one-shot lead. And that's a good get for Casey. And here's Travis James with a tester for par. And that's a nice putt. Really, all these guys have super smooth putting motions. There's Proctor putting in his par, and there's Child smashing in a par. So one birdie, Casey Mclaughlin with the lone birdie. So Travis leads John Child by 1, and Casey is down 1. Here we are at hole number 11, 380-foot 1 par 3. Along with hole 18, this is the longest hole on the course. And there's his overstapled destroyer. Just didn't come back enough for Casey. But it was a good drive. He's going to have a tough luck.
Distance driver for you, John. You're welcome.
And you can hear Proctor say this is a distance driver for Johnny. He was teasing him that he was going to throw a harp or something. But that is indeed an enforcer. And why do you need a distance driver when you can do that? Actually, on the footing of this hole, it was kind of slippery. Proctor was saying that he would normally throw like a Thunderbird-ish type of disc, a fairway driver, but because it was slippery, he actually clubbed up. And that was Travis James with a nice shot. Here is Johnny, and he's, I don't know what this purple disc is. It's either a destroyer or a boss, but it is crushed. And unless it's in the basket, you cannot get much better than that. Here's Travis James, and he's going to have his upshot go deep on him. And he's going to end up where Proctor's drive was, which is behind the basket, leaving him a tester. And you can see Casey Mclaughlin lining up his second shot after going to the right. Looks like he's got a wizard in his hand. And, ooh, looked like it was a little bit low, but he wanted it. And Travis James is going to rim out of it. And here's Proctor. And he got it. And here is Casey, who has a par putt left after his upshot. And now it's a nice putt for Casey to save par. And Travis doing the same thing. So Proctor and Child with birdie twos, while Travis getting a 4, dropping a stroke. And the lead now for Proctor up to 3 as we go into hole number 12, 285-footer. And this is a tough one to film, guys, so bear with me. There's the basket. So this is a giant hyzer shot. If you're a right-handed player, if you're a lefty, I'm not really sure what you do. It's probably an ante shot or something where you can flex. That was Proctor's shot. He's going to end up short. Here's Child. Child pulls one way out there, ends up by the log. And I think I missed Travis's drive, which was the last shot. But this is Casey, and Casey is going to hang up in the air for a while. He's going to end up a little bit short here. And there is here's Casey's upshot. And Travis actually went further to the right, past the basket. A tough putt for Casey, and that's just going to be on the other side of the log, and he will have that for a par. Here's Proctor. He's about 40-45 feet away. And absolutely cans it. That's a great putt. Outside the circle putt. And another stroke on Casey. So Casey's going to have to battle back here if he's going to have a chance at trying to catch Proctor. Here's Johnny for a 2. And not a bad putt, but it didn't really have a chance. Here's Travis. Travis upshot. And he just missed it. And here's Casey preparing to shoot. Throws the towel on the ground. I think he was getting in Johnny's way, trying to tease him. But Child unfazed with the towel drop. Crushing his par. Casey for par. Travis for par. And a couple of good saves. The lone birdie going to Proctor as he extends that lead. Not 13, but he extends his lead to 3 going into hole 13, 351 feet. And here's Proctor, and that is his enforcer, and he's throwing a forehand. And that's going to be short and way to the right. I do think the forehand is the correct play here. It's so wide open on the left-hand side if you go the backhand route. And you go too deep or you go too far to the right, there is a tree, and you can see the tree right there. Casey's not going to flirt with it. But a nice shot by Child there. Both Child and Proctor using the left-hand side. And that is a Thunderbird by Casey, and that is a beautiful shot. But I still think, to me, the forehand is the play. I like to throw the forehand on this hole. But you can do both, and we're going to see a couple shots here. Proctor well short, as I mentioned earlier. He's going to run it right here.
Stay up.
And it hits the bottom of the pole, which is fortunate because that could have went way past it. Here's Travis James for a 2. And that unfortunately did not stick. I'm not really sure how it didn't stick in, but I'm sure he's wondering the same thing. And a birdie for Casey. Another one. So Casey getting back on track here, picking back up a shot on Proctor. And there's John Child. And a beautiful drive. And another a nice putt from Child so he converts. So 2 birdies for Casey and John as Proctor and Travis both get pars. And here we go to hole 14, 291 foot uphiller. This is one of the tougher holes on the course. Shouldn't be a problem for these guys. These guys can mash. But typically for an AM or even AM1s, this is a decent hole. It's uphill, a little bit. It turns slightly to the left, but not a huge turn. Johnny with a nice shot should give him a putt. Casey ripping one. And that's so if you see that tree, the one that Casey just went towards, the big one in the middle of the screen, that's where the basket is. It's right underneath that tree, kind of, a little bit in front of it. So Casey's going to have probably a 15-footer. And there's that tree, and there's the basket, and, well, I know where the basket is, but that is crushed. He's going to have 5 feet, 6 feet. That was looking like an ace run for Proctor. And Travis with a thumber, he'll have a decent look at it. There's his drive. Wasn't a bad drive, but you want to be a little bit closer than that. He'll have a par look. So here's Johnny for a 2 after a really nice drive. And that's got to feel good if you're Johnny with a really nice birdie on this hole. Here's Casey, and you can see he had a really good drive. And that's a nice putt. Shout out to the Cooperage, by the way. Johnny giving him a shout out, doing some really good micro brewing and also selling some discs. So I missed Travis's par putt, but he nailed it. Proctor, you can see where he was. So 3 birdies and a par. And here we are, hole 15, par 3, 300-foot window shot. So here's Johnny after a really nice birdie on hole number 14. He's using his yellow rock. I believe that's a Casey rock, and that's a nice shot. He had a hole-in-one on this in 2016, and I think he used the same disc. He has a couple rocks. I just don't know if that was the same one. But he typically uses a rock on this hole, and I think Casey actually used his rock too. And he's just off to the right side. He'll have a slightly more difficult putt than Johnny. And there's Proctor, and that is tracking. Oh my goodness. Everybody, including myself, thought that was going to be a hole-in-one. And unfortunately, when James's arm got in the way, you couldn't see it go over the basket. It was about a foot and a half too high, but it went right over the top of the basket, over the number plate. And that is a missed birdie putt for Travis. And here's Casey lining up a pretty big shot because Proctor is parked, so you figure he's going to make that. And you don't want to drop any more strokes to Proctor with only a few holes left. So Casey needs to make this. An absolute crush putt. Nailed it. So Casey hanging around and not going away. And again, this guy's unsponsored. So, shout out to the companies. You got to get this guy sponsored. And there's Johnny. No. And Johnny missed the close one. And there's a nice putt. I believe that was Proctor for birdie 2. Followed by a couple tap-ins. And Johnny still can't believe it. So a couple birdies and a couple tap-ins. And you can see Proctor now at -10, 2 over Casey Mclaughlin at -8, and a 3-stroke lead over Travis James has John Child. 189-foot par 3 is hole 16 uphill, and that is a thumber, and that is just absolutely parked. You cannot get closer than that. A really nice shot by Casey. That's a signature Casey shot on this hole. And here is Proctor, now he uses a culverin right there, but you can see he landed on the flat part of the uphill, so he will have a putt. And he's actually probably like 15 to 20. Here's John Child. And a really good looking shot. He got a favorable skip, just kept skipping, sliding right up to the basket, so he should be pretty close. And here's Travis James with a different thumber. His thumbers seem to be just a little bit different than Casey's, and I'm thinking it's just when he reaches back, they might have a different angle. But it's interesting to watch the different types of thumbers. There's Proctor with a nice 2. And here's a Child with a dream-shattering 7-foot missed birdie opportunity. Devastating. I don't know if Child got over that one. That's 2 in a row. He was chirping, and a couple shots here coming up. Travis and Casey finishing out the hole. So a couple birdies. So Casey and Proctor now moving to -9 and a -11. While John Child missed an opportunity to get another stroke. As we move into hole number 17, 246 foot downhill. And this is a must-get hole. You got to get this. It's super short. So not a whole lot of excuses here. A must-get for the pro card. And that was a nice shot by Casey. Here's Proctor, and this is the cow chop, and he left it out just way too wide. He'll have a putt. Proctor has an incredible putt, so he's never out of a hole. But you want to be closer than that. Travis hung it out wider than Proctor. And Child, after the last hole, had no warm-up throws, threw it super quick, and almost missed the shot. I was caught by surprise. That's pretty good up by Travis. Here's Proctor for a birdie 2. As Travis is most likely going to get a 3. And just a little low and hit solid basket. And here's an AVR putter. So there is John Child, the man that everybody loves. This guy is one of the funnest people to film and just be around. Such a great advocate of the sport. And this is for birdie. And bewilderment is the word I would describe that John Giles just faced there after missing 3 putts in a row, which could have turned his scorecard around. And here's Casey Mclaughlin, and that's another birdie, and that is 5 in a row to bring him 1 back of Proctor. So Proctor only leading by 1 going into hole 18. There you can see the scorecard, double digits for both Casey and Proctor. As we move into hole 18, on the edge of my seat, this is riveting disc golf, folks. A 381 foot crush that's how I would describe hole 18. And there you can see the players high-fiving. Casey coming over to give a high five. Great sportsmanship by everybody. Just a really great day to play disc golf, and couldn't ask again for a better card of people. That is a crush by Casey. Now, Casey's down 1, so he needed to birdie this hole. And Proctor throws like a 1-step bomb. You could barely see he took any step, but he almost took the mat out with him. And that you'll get a kick out of where that landed. And here's Johnny. Johnny not telling anybody what this is. It's a boss, but it's a special one. It's pretty cool. But look at what Johnny's doing. He's lining up something interesting that we don't see a lot of unless you're on the pro tour and you're doing like a distance competition. He's going to actually do like a 360 drive here. And there it goes. And that was kind of cool to see. So Child trying to make something happen here on 18. And here's Travis. And that's a nice shot by Travis. That's probably going to get up and over. And there's the creek. So anytime you reach the creek, That's a pretty good drive. But for these guys, you kind of want to be over it. That's a nice up for Travis. He will finish with a par. And here's Child for a birdie 2.
Yeah, I love all this Mania plastic.
And that's going to probably be a par for him. Here's Casey. Casey for a par. I don't know if I just did not get Casey's upshot or what happened. But Casey finishes with a par. Travis with a par. Here's Johnny for a par. And these guys are still putting because Proctor's drive is that close. And Child, after missing 3 in a row, said, you know what? I'm not missing that.
Hey, don't do it.
And he threw another one just in case. But there's Proctor's drive. And that is the round. So a birdie puts Casey away. And a 12 under round for Proctor, followed by Casey, Child, and Travis. Huge thanks to all the players for letting me film them and for coming out. Thank you guys so much. Proctor's in the bag is coming soon, so wait for that. Thank you guys for watching, and please like and subscribe, and take care.